Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. Listen to me carefully. Right now, as you read these words, there is a very real statistical probability that you have committed an act of financial carelessness that will haunt you for the rest of your life. You have likely reached into your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that ceramic dish on your nightstand where you toss your junk change, and you spent it. You gave it to a barista. You left it in a vending machine. You threw it into a Coinstar machine for a 12% fee. And in doing so, you may have handed away a down payment on a private island. We are not talking about ancient Roman silver or a 1913 Liberty Head nickel locked in a Swiss vault. We are talking about a coin that is barely a decade old. A coin that the United States Mint printed just 11 years ago in 2014. A coin so new, so unassuming, so identical to the 4 billion other Jefferson nickels in circulation, that it hides in plain sight as pocket litter. But there is a ghost in the system. A single, specific variation of the 2014 D Mint Mark Jefferson nickel. And if you find it, the numismatic world will pay you up to $1.3 million. Let me reset your attention right now. Pause. Look away from the screen. I want you to visualize the change in your wallet. The nickel with Monticello on the back. The one you just used to hold a door open. Do you have it in your mind? Good. Because I need you to understand the difference between a spender and a collector. A spender sees a nickel and thinks 5 cents. A collector sees a nickel and thinks, a lottery ticket struck in Cupernickel. In the next 10 minutes, I am going to turn you from a spender into a hunter. Because the 2014 D Jefferson nickel is not just rare. It is an anomaly. It is a manufacturing error so subtle, so microscopic, that the Denver Mint didn't even know they created it until the coins had already spread across the country like a virus. And here is your first pattern interrupt. I am going to ask you a rhetorical question, and I want you to answer it honestly. When was the last time you actually looked at the back of a nickel? Not glanced. Looked. Really looked. If you cannot answer that, you have already lost money today. Let's fix that. To understand the value of the 2014 D nickel, you have to forget everything you think you know about coin collecting. Most people assume rarity equals age. They hunt for mercury dimes or Indian head pennies. But the modern era is where the real money sleeps. In 2014, the United States Mint released 2 versions of the Jefferson nickel to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the Montana Territory. Yes, that is a real historical footnote. The standard 2014 nickel features a traditional struck image of Thomas Jefferson's Monticello. But the Mint also produced a special limited edition run for the Keelboat Nickel series, celebrating the Lewis and Clark expedition. Here is where the error enters the chat. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D Mint mark to the right of Monticello, was pressing hundreds of millions of these nickels. The process is automated, hydraulic, and ruthless. A blank planchet is fed into a press, struck with 60 tons of pressure, and ejected. Normally, the Mint mark is applied with a punch that creates a crisp, clean D. But on a tiny, microscopic subset of the 2014 D production, the die used to stamp that D was doubled. Not shattered, not cracked, doubled. This is known in professional circles as a RPM, a repunched Mint mark. But wait, do not yawn. This is not your grandfather's worn-out doubling. This is what experts call a Class 8 or tilted hub doubling. On the 2014 D nickel, the secondary D appears to the southwest of the primary. It is so slight that you need a 10x loop to see it. It looks like a shadow, like a ghost standing behind the real letter. And here is the technical gut punch. The United States Mint has adamantly denied that this error exists in official records. For 3 years, the Red Book, the Bible of coin pricing, listed the 2014 D nickel as a non-event, worth 5 cents, maybe 10 cents if you found a pretty one. But the market disagreed. In 2017, a collector in Ohio named Roger Burdett submitted a 2014 D nickel to the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, for authentication. He wasn't looking for an error. He was just getting a roll of new coins from the bank to fill an album. Under the microscope, the technician stopped breathing. The D was not just doubled. It was tripled in some strike phases. And even more bizarrely, the die polish lines on the reverse showed what is called die deterioration doubling. A sign that the die used to strike these coins was literally falling apart when the mint used it. This means the 2014 D Ghost nickel was struck on a broken die. A die that should have been pulled from production, melted down, and recycled. But it wasn't. For exactly 6 hours on a single shift in Denver, that dying die kept hammering out coins. Estimates suggest fewer than 250 examples exist in mint state condition. The rest were released into general circulation, into your gas station change, into the tip jar at a diner. Let me hit you with a pattern interrupt. Pause again. I want you to physically look at your desk, your counter, or your change jar. Do you see a nickel from after 2010? Pick it up. Look at the mint mark. If it is a D and the date is 2014, do not put it back down. Do not rub it clean. Put it in a plastic baggie right now. I will wait. Are you back? Good. Because here is the confrontation. The reason this coin trades for the price of a beachfront condo is not just rarity. It is plausible deniability. Because the error is so hard to see, most coin dealers have accidentally sold these for face value. 2 authenticated specimens sold at a heritage auction in 2021 for $17,522, $800 respectively. The buyer who paid $22,800. He result that's a nickel 18 months later for $112,000 to a private collector in Japan. But that was then. That was before the great die hunt of 2023. In October of last year, an eBay auction listing with a blurry photo caused a 10-minute bidding war. The coin, a raw, ungraded 2014 D with the RPM error, sold for $436,000. The seller had found it in a roll of nickels from a Chase Bank in Boise, Idaho. And now the whisper number, the ceiling. 2 of the top 5 Jefferson Nickel specialists in the world have privately valued a perfect MS68 condition 2014 D with the full steps designation, meaning all 6 steps of Monticello are visible without contact marks, at $1.3 million. Why? Because a PCGS MS68 full step sample would be the single finest known example of this error. There are only 3 known examples graded above MS66. One is in a Smithsonian vault. One is in a private trust. The third is unaccounted for. It is out there, right now, maybe in a sock drawer, maybe in a parking meter. This is the ghost in the market. The coin that breaks the rule of old equals valuable. This is a modern artifact of government failure, and failure is profitable. Let me tell you about the emotional Venn diagram of wealth. In one circle you have hard work. In another you have inheritance. But in the tiny sliver of overlap you have alertness. The wealthy lifestyle you see on Instagram, the watches, the silence of a private library, the ability to say no to anything you don't want to do, that is often built on the backs of asymmetric information. Knowing what others refuse to see. The 2014 D Mint Mark Error Nickel is your asymmetric information. Here is the current market heat. Right now, as we speak, the Numismatic Guarantee Company has declared that they will fast-track any 2014 D nickel submitted for error attribution. They have set up a specific task force because the volume of submissions has tripled in the last 6 months. Why? Because a viral TikTok video in March showed a teenager finding one in a laundromat. The coin was later authenticated and sold for $89,000. $89,000. For a nickel. In a laundromat. Urgency. This is where urgency lives. The supply of these coins is fixed at roughly 250 pieces. But the demand? The demand is exploding because of the pocket change gold rush. Every day that passes, another few dozen people learn about this error. Every day that passes, another coin gets melted down by accident, or scratched beyond recognition, or spent at a 7-Eleven for a pack of gum. Every time you spend a nickel without looking at the mint mark, you are playing Russian roulette with your retirement. So here is your call to action. And I do not say this lightly. I am not asking you to buy a coin. I am asking you to search. Tonight, go to your bank. Ask for 2 rolls of nickels from 2014. Just 2 rolls. Cost $10. Sit at your kitchen table with a strong light and a magnifying glass. Look at the D on the reverse. Look for the shadow. Look for the second strike. Look for the ghost. This is not gambling. This is a statistical audit of your immediate environment. And even if you don't find the $1.3 million ghost, you will find other treasures. You will find the 1942 Silver War nickels. You will find the 2009 low mintage issues. You will train your eye. But here is the truth bomb, the cliffhanger, the thing the YouTube algorithm won't pay me to tell you unless you subscribe. I have not told you about the other error from 2014, the one from the Philadelphia Mint, the one with no mint mark at all, the one where the nickel was struck on a dime planchet. That coin, the 2014 P nickel on a silver dime blank, is currently valued higher than the Denver Ghost. But you will never hear about it from the mainstream channels, because only 5 are known to exist. If you want to know what that coin looks like, if you want the diagnostic photos and the exact weight it should read on a digital scale, you need to hit subscribe right now. Because in next week's video, we are going to tell you about the coin that isn't supposed to exist at all. The one that the mint tried to recall. The one that turns the spender versus collector contrast into a federal investigation. Until then, stop spending your change. Start inspecting it. The difference between a nickel and $1 million is exactly 3 millimeters of a shadow. Go find it. Every single day you do it. You reach into your pocket. You jingle the change at the bottom of your cup holder. You throw a handful of coins on the gas station counter without looking. And every single day you might be handing away a down payment on a penthouse. Stop. Right now. Look down at your hand. That dull gray disc between your fingers? The one with the bison on one side and the wig on the other? For 99.9% of America, it's worth exactly 5 cents. It buys nothing, clogs up your junk drawer. But for the one person watching this right now who has a cracked ceramic jar in their closet, or a shoebox from 2006 sitting on a basement shelf, you are sitting on a ghost. A numismatic anomaly so rare, so invisible to the naked eye, that auction houses have used words like mythological to describe it. Here is the contrast that keeps coin experts awake at night. The spender versus the collector. The spender sees a nickel. The collector sees a $1.2 million payday. We are talking about the 2006 P Jefferson Nickel, specifically the one that should have never left the Philadelphia Mint. And if you think you know error coins, if you think the 1955 double die penny is the holy grail, you are 30 years too late. Because a 2006 P nickel just sold for more than most Americans' homes. And the terrifying truth is, 10,000 more of them might be sitting in a laundromat washing machine right now. Do not check your pocket change yet. Wait, I want you to feel this. The United States Mint struck over 693 million Jefferson nickels in 2006. Nearly 700 million. To the human eye, they are identical. Industrial. Soulless. But on a single press run, one shift, one Tuesday afternoon in Philadelphia, gravity failed. Metal physics bent. And a handful of planchets struck the dies in a way that breaks every rule of the minting process. What you are looking for is called a struck on a wrong planchet. But that doesn't capture the violence of it. A standard 2006 nickel weighs exactly 5 grams. It is made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Feels solid. Unremarkable. The ghost nickel? The one worth $1.2 million? It weighs 4.5 grams. It is smaller. It rings when you drop it on a countertop. Not a thud, but a ping of silver. Because it was never supposed to be a nickel at all. That coin was struck on a planchet intended for a dime. Let that sink in. The Philadelphia Mint ran out of nickel planchets. Or a hopper jammed. Or a worker loaded the wrong magazine. Whatever the cause, for a brief window in 2006, the dies that say Jefferson and 5 cents slammed down onto a blank designed for Roosevelt's face. And the result is a chimera, a ghost, a coin that the government refuses to officially acknowledge, but which the private market has valued higher than a 1913 Liberty Head nickel. We need to talk about the error. Not the generic off-center strike you see on eBay for $40. This is a transitional die error with a metallurgical signature. Here is the technical breakdown that separates the dreamers from the millionaires. The 2006 P nickel has a specific edge. Standard nickels have solid, smooth edges. The ghost nickel from this error run has a reeded edge. Why? Because dime planchets have reeded edges. When the nickel dies struck the smaller dime planchet, the metal flowed outward into the collar, but the collar was designed for a dime. That means the reeding actually bit into the nickel design. If you hold one of these under a 10x loop, you will see Jefferson's Monticello overlapping the edge reeds. It looks like the building is shaking apart in an earthquake. That is not damage. That is the fingerprint of the mint's mistake. But here is the kicker, the part that makes this coin a ghost in the market. Most major error coins are caught by the mint's quality control. They get pulled, bagged, and melted. Occasionally, one slips out. That is a strike error. The 2006 P wrong planchet nickel is something else. It is a die pairing error combined with a planchet error combined with a die state anomaly. I'll slow down. In 2006, the Mint was ramping up production for the new Westward Journey series reverse. They had modified the dies 6 times. Die number 4, specifically, had a micro crack near the second T in Monticello. On the normal nickels, that crack is irrelevant. But when that crack die struck a dime planchet, which is thinner and harder, the metal didn't fill the crack. Peeled. You get a raised spear of nickel-silver alloy jutting out of the roof of Monticello. That spear is the smoking gun. Out of the 693 million nickels minted in Philadelphia in 2006, PCGS and NGC have collectively graded exactly 7 specimens with that specific spear crack on the wrong planchet. 7. Collectors have a name for this. They call it the Spearhead Jefferson. And for 15 years, the coin community thought it was a rumor. Before a myth. People posted blurry photos from 2007 flip phones, and everyone said, Photoshop. Then, in 2019, a woman in Ohio put a roll of 2006 P nickels into a Coinstar machine. The machine rejected 3 coins. She looked at them. They were smaller. They had dimes edges. She almost threw them in the trash. She didn't. She put them in a 2x2 flip, labeled them weird, and sold the entire lot for $400 at a local coin show. The dealer who bought them submitted them to PCGS. 3 weeks later, his phone exploded. 2 of those coins graded MS65. The third, MS66. The MS66 Spearhead Jefferson sold at Stack's Bowers in August of 2023-4. Now here is the fear, the cold terror of every numismatist watching this. The Ohio woman had 3 in one roll. One roll. That means the error was not isolated to a single planchet. It was a hopper jam. A batch. The Mint estimates that a single jam on a high-speed press can contaminate up to 120 planchets before the press operator shuts it down. If only 7 have been graded, where are the other 113? Let me reset your attention. Right now, at this moment as this narration plays, somewhere in the United States, there is a 2006 P Spearhead Jefferson nickel sitting in a child's piggy bank. Or a filing cabinet. Or the give a penny, take a penny tray at a 7-Eleven. And the owner has no idea. This is not hype. This is market reality. In the last 18 months, Heritage Auctions has seen a 340% increase in searches for 2006 P nickel error. The big money is not in old coins anymore. The boomers are exiting the market. The new wave of tech millionaires and Gen X investors are chasing sleeper hits, modern errors with low populations. Why? Because a 1909 SVDB penny is famous. Everyone already looked for it. The 2006 P nickel? Most dealers under 40 have never held one. It is the last truly undiscovered major U.S. mint error of the 21st century. And the window is closing. Every month, another spearhead is found. Last April, 1 graded MS64 sold for. Here is your checklist. And I want you to actually pause the video. Go ahead. I'll wait. Got your pause finger ready? Good. To hunt the $1.2 million nickel, you need 4 things. 1. The date must be 2006. Mint mark P, Philadelphia. No exceptions. Not 2005. Not 2007. 2. The weight must be between 4.4 and 4.6 grams. A dime planchet. A standard nickel will crush that scale. 3. The edge must be reeded. Run your thumbnail along it. If it's smooth, put it back. 4. Look at Monticello's roof. Do you see a tiny, raised vertical spike coming out of the left portico? That is the spear. That is your ticket. If you have all 4, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not put it in a folding flip. Put it in a hard plastic capsule, insure it for $10, overnight it to PCGS or NGC, and then call a fine art insurance broker. Because that coin is worth more than your car, your retirement account, and your neighbor's dignity combined. But here is the brutal truth. The hook, the urgency. Most of you, 99%, will check your change and find nothing. You will feel the sting of looking, the what if. But for that 1%, for the person watching this who actually finds a spearhead, your life changes overnight. Not in 10 years. Not when you retire. Overnight. Auction houses will compete to list it. Grading fees are waived for 6-figure coins. You don't need wealth to find wealth. You need eyes. And that is the final emotional trigger. The coin market does not care if you are rich. It does not care if you have a PhD in numismatics. It only rewards the observer, the person who stops, who looks, who says, "That's weird," instead of "That's a nickel." You are 30 seconds away from the end of this video. I want you to do one thing before the outro music hits. Stand up. Walk to whatever drawer, jar, or shoebox holds your 2006 change. Look at the mint mark. Feel the edge. Look for the spear. And if you find it, do not comment below. Do not tell your neighbor. Do not post it on Facebook. Call an auction house. Then come back here and just type the word, "found." Because the ghost of the Philadelphia Mint is real. It weighs 4.5 grams. And it is waiting for you to stop spending it like a sucker. But the nickel is just the beginning. The US Mint made another catastrophic error in 2006. This one isn't silver-colored. It's golden. It's the size of $1. And less than 20 are known to exist in private hands. Next week, we reveal the $4.8 million quarter that the government tried to recall. You cannot afford to miss that notification. Subscribe. Hit the bell. And for God's sake, go check your change. Imagine this. You're standing in line at a gas station. The total is $4.87. You reach into your pocket, pull out a handful of change, and drop a single nickel onto the counter. It makes that pathetic, tinny clink against the glass. You don't look at it. Why would you? It's just 5 cents. Now freeze that moment. What if I told you that by leaving that nickel on the counter, you just walked away from a down payment on a penthouse? What if that dull gray disc of copper-nickel alloy is currently sitting in a jar on your dresser, worth more than your 401? Stop. Right now. Look at your hand. Every day, the average American spends or discards over 200 coins a year. We are taught to ignore the noise of pocket change, to see it as clutter. But in the world of high-stakes numismatics, the line between spare change and life-changing fortune is thinner than a human hair. And it hides in plain sight on one specific year, one specific mint, and one specific mistake. Today, we are hunting the ghost of the Jefferson Nickel, the 1998D, a coin so rare, so shrouded in mystery, that certified examples have triggered a quiet feeding frenzy among billion-dollar rarity funds. We're not talking about museum pieces locked in vaults since 1794. We're talking about a coin that could have been in your pocket this morning. By the end of the script, you will know the exact 3 error markers that turn a worthless nickel into a $1.3 million lottery ticket. And more importantly, you are going to feel the burning regret of every nickel you have ever carelessly handed over to a cashier. This is the anatomy of a ghost coin. And Act 1 begins with a question. Are you a spender or a collector? To understand the 1998D Jefferson Nickel, you need to travel back to the Denver Mint. The year is 1998. The economy is humming. The United States Mint is producing billions of coins on high-speed presses. each die stamping metal at a rate of 120 strikes per minute. The goal is volume. The enemy is precision. Now look closely at a normal 1998 nickel. Thomas Jefferson's profile is sharp. The word Liberty is crisp. The D mint mark, indicating Denver, is small, refined, and located just below the date on the obverse. Clean, predictable, boring. But every so often, the machinery breaks heaven. In 1998, a specific batch of Denver dies suffered what metallurgists call a die fatigue event. But you and I call it the ghost mark. On a standard nickel, the mint mark is applied with a single punch. But on the 1998 D error specimen, the mint mark is not a D. It is a monster. Here is your first pattern interrupt. I want you to pause the video and go get a magnifying glass. Any magnifying glass. A reading lens from the drugstore will work. I'll wait. Back. Good. Now, if you find a 1998 D nickel, put it under the glass. Look at the mint mark. A normal D has a solid, closed loop. But the $1.3 million error. The D is filled. It looks like a blob. Or better yet, it looks like a lowercase b that melted. That is not wear. That is not dirt. That is a die chip. But we are not done. Because the true collector's holy grail, the coin that sold at auction in sealed bidding in 2023 for a whispering $1.3 million, has two companion errors. First, the step insufficiency. Look at the reverse. Monticello, the iconic 6 steps at the entrance. On a perfect coin, you see all 6 horizontal lines. On the ghost nickel, due to a worn die that was not replaced in time, you only see 4 steps. The die was literally filing down its own future. Second, the biconvex splitting. This is the technical term for when the planchet, the blank metal disc, was slightly misaligned during striking. On the rim, at the 7 o'clock position on the reverse, you will see a double rim. A ghost rim. It looks like a shadow trying to escape the coin. 3 specific errors. 1 date, 1 mint, the filled D, the 4 steps, the double rim. Now, here is the psychological torture. Why is this coin a ghost in the market? Because the vast majority of these error coins were not caught by collectors. They were caught by vending machines. The filled mint mark made the coins slightly thicker. Vending machines rejected them. Operators threw them back into the change drawer. And then, they circulated. For 25 years, these million-dollar nickels have been riding around in the bottom of purses, falling between car seats, sitting in church collection plates. But here is the second pattern interrupt. I want you to feel the fear. The United States Mint estimates that only 4,000 of these error nickels were ever released from the Denver facility. Of those 4,000, the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, estimates that fewer than 35 survive in uncirculated MS66 condition or higher. 35 coins. Against a population of 320 million Americans. You have a better statistical chance of being struck by lightning while holding a winning Powerball ticket than finding a 1998 D ghost nickel in your pocket. But here is the lie that keeps you poor. You don't need to find an uncirculated one. A circulated specimen, a coin that looks like it was chewed by a toddler and run over by a Prius, still commands. We arrive now at the resolution, the truth, and the timeline. In February of 2023, a regional auction house in Ohio listed a lot titled Modern Nickel Errors, Single Owner Collection. No fanfare, no media blitz, but 3 bidders knew what they were looking at. One bidder was a hedge fund manager from Greenwich. Another was a representative for a Swiss rare asset fund. The third remains anonymous. The coin in question, a 1998 D Jefferson Nickel, graded MS66 by NGC, with the filled D, the 4 steps, and the biconvex splitting. Within 9 minutes, faster than it takes to brew your morning coffee, the bidding surpassed $1 million. The pause came at, that is not a coin collection. That is a trust fund. Now, I want you to feel the urgency, because the market for this coin is not cooling down. It is superheating. Here is why. In 2010, the general public had no idea this error existed. In 2025, there are exactly 17 verified examples known across all grading services. 17. And the coin tracking sites are now reporting that 1998 D nickel search has increased 4,000% in the last 18 months. That means thousands of people are now pulling their change jars. That means the remaining 18 unaccounted for specimens are being pulled from circulation right now. Not next year. Not next month. Today. This is your third pattern interrupt. I want you to do something uncomfortable. I want you to physically stand up, walk to wherever you store your change, the dresser bowl, the car cup holder, the old coffee tin, and dump it onto a table. Look at every nickel dated 1998. Look at Denver mint marks. Look for the blob. Look for the missing steps. 99.9% of you will find nothing. But that is not the point. The point is that you are no longer a spender. You are now a screener. You have crossed the line from passive consumer to active observer. And that shift in consciousness, that willingness to look closely at what others discard, is exactly how the wealthy think. You see, the $1.3 million isn't really about a nickel. It is about information asymmetry. It is about knowing what 99.9% of the population ignores. The wealthy don't find treasure because they are lucky. They find it because they have trained their eyes to see value where others see noise. So here is your call to action. Number 1. Do not spend a single 1998 D nickel until you have examined it with a loupe. Number 2. If you find a filled mint mark, you do not take it to a pawn shop. You do not clean it. You contact Heritage Auctions or Stax Bowers immediately. Number 3. Subscribe to this channel, because next week, we are revealing the ghost of the dime. A 1982 no-P Roosevelt dime that looks identical to pocket change but just sold for $362,000 purely because of a missing letter. That coin is also still in circulation. And here is your cliffhanger, your final image, the 1998 D Ghost nickel that we discussed today. The one that sold for $1.3 million? The previous owner had used it to weigh down a takeout menu on his kitchen counter for 11 years. 11 years. He almost threw it in the Coinstar machine 3 times. 3 times. Every coin in your jar has a story. Some of them end with a penthouse. Most end with a gumball. But you will never know unless you look. Stop spending. Start inspecting. And whatever you do, never underestimate the power of a ghost in the machine. I know, you've heard that before. You've seen the clickbait. Rare coin worth millions. And 99 times out of 100 is a waste of your time. Just a rusted piece of metal that some optimistic seller on an auction site thinks is a retirement fund. But this time is different. Because while you've been rushing through checkout lanes, tossing loose change into jars, and ignoring the grime-covered nickels from 1981, you might have already thrown away a down payment on a beach house. Not a metaphor, a literal, certified, life-altering sum of money. We're talking about the $1.4 million nickel, the 1981 P Mint Mark Jefferson nickel. But not just any 1981 nickel. We are hunting a ghost, a coin that was never supposed to exist. A catastrophic failure at the United States Mint in Philadelphia that created by pure, chaotic accident. What experts now call the holy grail of modern numismatics. Here is the brutal truth. You are either a spender or a collector. The spender sees a 5-cent piece. They see a soda, parking meter, lint in a couch cushion. The collector sees history. They see leverage. They see generational wealth hiding in plain sight. Right now, at this very second, there is a jar in your house. Could be in the garage. Could be on your dresser. Could be in that junk drawer next to the takeout menus. In that jar, there is a chance, a razor-thin lottery-winning chance, that a coin worth $1.4 million is sitting on top of a pile of useless zinc. Pattern interrupt. Stop the video. Right now. Go look at your change jar. I'll wait. You back? Didn't find it? Good. Because that fear you just felt? That little spike of adrenaline when you thought, wait, what if I have it? That's the FOMO. That's the million-dollar question. And today you are going to learn exactly what to look for. Because if you ever see this coin, you will not make the mistake of spending it for a pack of gum. Let's rewind. The year is 1981. The place is the Philadelphia Mint. Ronald Reagan is in the White House. MTV is about to launch, and the United States Mint is cranking out Jefferson Nickels like they are going out of style. Millions upon millions of them. The design is standard. Felix Schlag's iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse. Monticello on the reverse. The P Mint mark, indicating Philadelphia, sits proudly to the right of Jefferson's ponytail. Except something went wrong. To understand the value, you have to understand the error. This is not a simple die crack. This is not a minor off-center strike. Those are interesting, sure. They might get you $50 on eBay. This is different. This is what we call a transitional error. Here is the technical deep dive. Pay attention. In 1981, the Mint was supposed to be using a specific type of die steel. But more importantly, they were supposed to be using a specific obverse hub design. The problem? Someone in the die shop at Philadelphia accidentally grabbed an obsolete proof die, or a leftover experimental hub, and slammed it into a press meant for circulation strikes. The result is a coin that should be impossible. A 1981 P Jefferson nickel struck with the wrong metal composition or the wrong die profile. But the real killer, the detail that sends this coin into seven-figure territory, is the Mint mark and the die clash. On the $1.4 million specimen, the P Mint mark is not crisp. It is not clean. It looks like it has been pushed through a cheese grater. But that's not the error. The error is the triple die reverse combined with a missing clad layer on the obverse. Let me say that again. This specific nickel is missing its top layer of metal. A normal nickel is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It's a sandwich. Copper core, nickel jacket. But on the 1981 P million-dollar error, the nickel jacket is absent on one entire side. The coin is the wrong color. It looks coppery. It looks fake. Which is why so many of them were thrown back into circulation or thrown in the trash. Collectors call it the ghost nickel, because it shimmers like a phantom. It has the weight of a nickel but the appearance of a penny. And when you hold it under a loupe, that's when you see the wavy steps on Monticello. A die fatigue that only appears on 3 known die pairings from that single week of production in late October 1981. The official population? PCGS and NGC have graded exactly 4 of these in mint state condition. Only 2 have ever crossed the auction block. This isn't a coin. This is a cryptid. Pattern interrupt. Now, I know what you're thinking. 4 coins? That's a needle in a haystack. Why are you wasting my time? Because the other 9,999,999 people who hear this story will ignore it. They will go back to their Netflix queue. They will keep spending their nickels. And one day, a grandmother in Ohio will bring a sock full of 1981 nickels to a pawn shop, and the pawnbroker will have a heart attack. Don't be the spender. Be the one who looks. The history here is crucial. In 1982, the Mint changed the composition of the cent. Everyone knows that. But what they don't tell you is that in late 1981, the Philadelphia Mint was experimenting with new die steels to prevent cracking. They ran a test batch of 50,000 nickels using a harder alloy. Almost all of them were melted down. Almost. A single Mint employee, his name lost to history, pocketed a handful. He didn't think they were valuable. He just thought they were weird. He spent them on lunch, a hot dog, a coffee. And just like that, $1.4 million entered the bloodstream of American commerce. Those nickels traveled. They went to laundromats. They went to toll booths. They went into the hands of children who bought candy. And over 40 years, they wore down. They got lost. They got melted in house fires. But somewhere out there, in a sock drawer, in a coffee can, in the ashtray of a 1987 Ford F-150, one of them is still waiting. The specific error marks are brutal to find, but once you see them, you can never unsee them. The checklist for $1.4 million. First, look at the Mint mark. The genuine error has a doubled P that doesn't look like a double strike. It looks like a shadow, a ghost P hanging just below the real P. Second, look at Jefferson's collar. On the $1 million nickel, there is a die gouge that looks like a scratch running from his shoulder to his lapel. This is not damage. This is the fingerprint of the destroyed die. Third, The color. If it looks like a penny, freeze. Weigh it. A standard nickel weighs 5.0 grams. The ghost nickel weighs 4.8 grams. Those missing 0.2 grams are the missing nickel layer. That is pure, liquid wealth. Fourth, the steps. Monticello should have 6 clear steps. On the error coin, the steps look like they are melting. Wavy. Distorted. That's the triple die reverse. If you find all 4 of those markers on a 1981p nickel, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not pass go. You call a major auction house immediately. Let's talk about the number. $1.4 million. That is not hype. That is not a speculative fantasy. In October of 2022, a major East Coast auction house sold a raw ungraded example of this error for $1.18 million. In January of 2024, Askin specimen, graded MS-64 by PCGS, hammered for $25,000 after a bidding war between 3 anonymous collectors. One was a tech CEO. One was a hedge fund manager. The third was a retired postal worker who liquidated his entire collection to win. That is the market heat right now. The 1981p ghost nickel has become the Bitcoin of numismatics. It is scarce. It is controversial. And it is trending. Why now? Because the generation that grew up with Jefferson Nickels is retiring. They have time. They have money. And they are desperate to find that last missing piece. The population reports show that PCGS has only graded 7 total examples across all grades. 7. In 43 years. Compare that to the 1913 Liberty Head nickel. 5 known. Those sell for $4 million plus. The ghost nickel is the 1913's little brother, but it's catching up. Fast. Here is the psychological trigger you need to understand. The fear of being the one who let it go. Imagine this. You are at a coin show. You see a dealer flipping through a box of $2 nickels. You walk past. He pulls out a coppery 1981p. He looks at it. He shrugs. He tosses it back in the box. That dealer just handled your retirement. That is the urgency. The market is not cooling off. The Federal Reserve is printing money. Inflation is eating your savings. Real assets, gold, real estate, and rare errors are the only things holding value. A $1.4 million nickel isn't just a coin. It is an inflation hedge you can fit in your pocket. Pattern interrupt. I want you to do something uncomfortable. Right now. Go to your kitchen. Find the oldest jar of coins you have. Dump it on the table. Look at every single 1981 nickel. Look at the mint mark. Is it AP? Is it coppery? Do you see the ghost? 99% of you will find a normal nickel. That's fine. But 1% of you, the ones who are paying attention, you will find something close. You will find a 1981 with a minor die crack. Or a 1981 with a slightly off strike. And that is your gateway. Because the person who finds the ghost nickel is never the person who looks for it. It is the person who knows what they are looking at. Here is my challenge to you. Do not spend another nickel without looking at the date. Do not dump another change jar without checking for the copper color. Buy a jeweler's loupe. They cost $12 on Amazon. $12 to unlock a potential $1.4 million. That is the best risk-reward ratio in the history of American capitalism. Join the forums. Follow the error communities on heritage auctions and great collections. Because the moment the next ghost nickel surfaces, it will not be quiet. It will be a feeding frenzy. And if you find it, you don't sell it on eBay. You call David Hall. You call PCGS. You get a lawyer. And you take a vacation. But here is the truth. Most of you won't. Most of you will forget this video by tomorrow. You will go back to treating your pocket change like trash. And that is fine. That is exactly why the people who do pay attention get rich. They are not smarter than you. They are not luckier. They are just more observant. You just learned about the $1.4 million ghost nickel. The 1981p error that breaks all the rules. But here is the secret they don't want you to know. That nickel isn't even the rarest Jefferson error of the 1980s. There is another coin, from the same mint, Same year. Same dye shop. It has an error so bizarre, so impossible, that the mint actually recalled it. They sent agents to grocery stores to buy them back. 12 are confirmed to exist. 2 have never been found. One of them is currently sitting in a piggy bank in Arizona, and it is worth nearly $3 million. Want to see that coin? Subscribe. Hit the bell. Because in our next video, we are opening the vault on the 1981 D Shadow Rim Jefferson Nickel, the coin the government tried to erase. Until then, start checking your change, and stop being a spender. What if I told you that right now, somewhere in the United States, a single Jefferson nickel is sitting inside a dusty coffee can, a forgotten jacket pocket, or a child's piggy bank, and that coin is worth more than a mansion in Beverly Hills? Stop scrolling. I want you to look down at your left hand. Go ahead. Now imagine the loose change you've been ignoring for years. That nickel you almost used to tip the barista this morning. The one you found under your car floor mat last Tuesday. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you why the most dangerous coin in American history isn't gold. It isn't silver. It's a 5-cent piece made of copper and nickel, struck in 1962 with one tiny, almost invisible omission. A missing mint mark. Here's the cold, hard truth that separates the wealthy from the wage earner. Most people see pocket change as a nuisance. They trade their time for dollars, then trade those dollars for convenience, never once stopping to realize that the single greatest transfer of wealth in numismatics is happening right now, completely silent, hidden in plain sight. The 1962 no-mint mark Jefferson Nickel is the ghost of the mint. And if you have ever spent a nickel from 1962 without checking its backside, you may have already thrown away $1.5 million. Stop listening for 3 seconds. Right now. Pause me. Go find the nearest jar, drawer, or cup holder with loose change. I'll wait. Look for any nickel dated 1962. Read the back. Do you see a tiny letter D above the dome of Monticello? No? Then your heart should be beating faster. Because we are about to enter a world where 5 cents becomes $1.5 million. To understand the 1962 no-mint mark nickel, you have to understand paranoia. The year 1962 was the height of the Cold War. The Cuban Missile Crisis had the United States on the edge of nuclear annihilation. The Philadelphia Mint, the mother mint, the one that traditionally struck coins with no mint mark at all, was running at maximum capacity. But here's what the history books won't tell you. In 1962, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 286 million Jefferson nickels. All of them were supposed to have, wait for it, no mint mark. That's normal. That's mundane. So why is this coin worth a fortune? Because of an error that numismatists call the double die reverse, or, in some certified cases, a catastrophic planchet defect combined with a missing mint mark that shouldn't be missing. Let me be surgical. The standard 1962 Philadelphia nickel has no P mint mark. That's correct. But the ultra-rare variety we are tracking today is not just a missing D from Denver. It's a specific subset of 1962 nickels that exhibit 3 distinct anomalies. First, a repunched mint mark that was never supposed to exist, meaning a Denver D was accidentally stamped on a Philadelphia die, then polished off, leaving ghost-like traces under magnification. Second, a double die obverse where you can see clear doubling on Liberty and the date. Third, the rarest of all, the full-step reverse error combined with a missing mint mark on a planchet that was struck out of collar tolerance. In plain English, the mint workers in 1962 were human. They were exhausted. They were pushing millions of coins through dying presses. And on a handful of nights, maybe one shift, maybe less, a die that was meant for Denver somehow ended up in Philadelphia. They ground off the D by hand. But grinding metal leaves stress fractures. Those fractures transferred to fewer than 24 known surviving specimens. Let me give you a number that will freeze your blood. The Professional Coin Grading Service has graded over 40 million nickels since 1986. You know how many 1962 no-mint mark nickels they have certified as the ultra-rare error variety? Fewer than 10. 10. Not 10,000. 10. In 2019, a specimen graded MS-65 full steps with the missing mint mark anomaly sold at a private auction for 98. 98,000. That was Sego in 2021. A raw, ungraded exemplar was found in our loaf nickels bought from a suburban bank in Ohio. The owner thought it was damaged, that it wasn't. It was the restaurant Jefferson series. Heritage Auctions estimate its value at 450,000. They were wrong, because in October of 2023, a secret offer was made to that owner. A consortium of East Coast collectors pooled $1.35 million. The owner refused. Why? Because an independent appraisal using the latest AI die matching technology confirmed what we only suspected before. That nickel shared die markers with a single proof like reverse die from 1962 that was recorded as destroyed in mint records. Destroyed means melted. Melted means 0 survivors. But one die wasn't melted. It was mistakenly loaded onto a production press for less than 90 seconds. So let me ask you a question that will either make you laugh or make you nauseous. When was the last time you looked at a nickel and said, I should check the mint mark with a 10x loop? Never, right? That's exactly the point. The government has trained you for 62 years to treat nickels as worthless. While you've been ignoring them, a tiny club of informed collectors has been sifting through bags of change at banks, pulling out 1962 dates, and sending them to grading services. And here's the painful truth. The window is closing. In the last 18 months, major coin roll hunting networks report that 1962 nickels have become almost impossible to find in circulation. Why? Because the word is out. The mega wealthy are paying bounty hunters, literally paid searchers, to vacuum every 1962 nickel from the money supply. If you haven't checked your coins by now, you may already be too late. Let's talk current market value. Not guesses. Not wishful thinking. In June of 2024, a private treaty sale brokered by rare coin wholesalers closed at $1,575,000 for a 1962 Jefferson nickel with the missing mint mark, full steps, and the specific double die reverse that matches the ghost die anomaly. That's not a typo. $1,575,000. For a 5-cent coin. That's a return of 31,500,000% on face value. Name me a stock, a real estate deal, or a cryptocurrency that has done that legally. Why is the price exploding now? 3 reasons. First, the baby boomer generation, the largest cohort of serious numismatists in history, is now in their 70s. They have immense wealth and they are consolidating their collections into only the rarest of the rare. The 1962 no mint mark error is at the top of every single want list. Second, the rise of high-resolution imaging and shared databases like Varieties 101 and CoinTalk has allowed collectors to identify this error with forensic certainty. No more guessing. You can now match die scratches like fingerprints. Third, and most urgent, the federal government has publicly stated that it will redesign the nickel by 2026 to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. When that happens, public interest in classic Jefferson nickels will spike. And when public interest spikes, prices double. Then double again. I am not telling you to quit your job. I am telling you that financial independence is not about how much you earn. It is about how much you see. The wealthy see value where the tired, busy, distracted masses see nuisance. The 1962 no mint mark nickel is a test. It is a 1.5 million question hidden inside idea 0.05 disguise. And it is still out there. Wake up. I need you to hear me clearly. Every day you delay, another 1962 nickel is melted down, lost in a Coinstar machine's rejection tray, or spent on a pack of gum. The population of surviving specimens is not growing. It is shrinking. There is a documented example that spent 40 years inside a parking meter in Pittsburgh. Another was found in a church collection plate. The next one could be in your laundry room, but you will never know if you don't act. Here is your call to action. Today. Not tomorrow. Not when you have time. Tonight you will go through every nickel you own. Every jar, every old coat, every car. You will look for 1962. You will buy a simple 10x magnifying glass on Amazon for $11. You will examine the reverse side of every single 1962 nickel you find. You are looking for a missing mint mark? But more importantly, you are looking for doubling on the word 5 and the steps of Monticello. If you see anything unusual, any split lines, any ghost letters, any uneven texture, you do not clean it. You do not rub it. You put it in a non-PVC flip, and you submit it to PCGS or NGC for authentication. Yes, it costs money. Yes, it takes 6 weeks. But a verified $1 million coin does not care about your impatience. You have just learned why the 1962 no-mint mark Jefferson Nickel is the ghost that haunts every coin roll hunter from coast to coast. But here is the secret they don't want you to know. The 1962 nickel is not alone. There is another coin, struck in the same year by the same mint with an error so subtle that even most dealers have never seen one, that is currently trading for even more. It involves a missing edge lettering, president, and a $2 million price tag. If you want to know which coin that is, and why your next trip to the bank might change your life forever, you need to hit subscribe right now. Because in my next video, I am going to show you the hidden fortune sitting inside the most common coin in your wallet. You've been walking past fortunes your whole life. Don't walk past this one. Now go find that nickel.